Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to episode number 241 of the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, coming to you on a special Thursday night edition, making up for the Labor Day holiday, and I'm sure all of you are anxiously awaiting the opening kickoff of the NFL season. We're going to be with you for about an hour, looking a little bit at some of the team brackets and the pairings and the orderings, etc., that came out in the last week or so regarding Blizzard Bash. We've got a couple of guests coming to us that are making their first trip into the national bracket, Brad Tice and Laine Frerichs. Brad Tice, running with Team America, got the win in the national bracket last year. We're going to be talking with him in just a minute. He is in the shop right now getting ready to make that trip out to Blizzard Bash here in about 2 months. Sand's quickly running thin in the hourglass for him. We're also going to be talking with Laine Frerichs for the Cray-Z Iowans, who took second in the national bracket. And, of course, Brent Clemens, who's a former winner out at Blizzard Bash in Topeka, is going to be joining Team Kansylvania. We'll be talking to him at the bottom of the hour as we work through our 60 minutes together here with lots to cover on Crash Course Podcast, episode number 241. First and foremost, Ed Brewster with GMW Motorsports Park this weekend is the ECC, the East Coast Championship. It is the largest outdoor RC derby on the East Coast. Ed, of course, you know, oversees the RC Demolition Derby action at with GMW Motorsports Park when they make the trip out to Bash for Cash. Also, he regularly makes the trips out to Topeka for the RC events there. This is his home track event, and they usually draw somewhere around 30 cars. It's an outstanding show. It's going to be a couple days worth of action for him there. There's a bunch of stuff going on. All the details online, gmwmotorsports.net. And, of course, Brookfield Wheel Days, which we're going to be talking about a little bit more detail a little later on, had a special announcement come out just as we're getting ready to go on the air, no less. They have been able to secure some additional purse money from the Madison County Fairgrounds 4-wheel days. I got it right here. Big cars are going to be going for $1,750, $500 for second, $150 for third. Small cars going for $1,250 to win, $200 for second, $100 for third. And that's all based on 35 cars entering, which should be no issue. As we break into some of that information later on, you'll hear that show draws 150 cars without even thinking. Trucks class is going to be $250 to win, plus 100% of the payout, plus a $100 bonus if they get 5 or more trucks, which, again, should be no issue. They usually have 12 to 15 for that one. So, again, King Smash and Crash from Demolition Derby is announcing they've got additional purse monies reserved for wheel days coming up at the end of September. We'll be getting into the ad spots for that in a little while. First, before we get to that, Brad Tice is waiting in the wings with us here. Team America won Blizzard Bash 2017's qualifying bracket, which earned their way into the national draw. When we talked to Brad last year, he talked about how important it was to drive all summer long, stay sharp, test things out, get to know what you were going to be bringing, because you don't want to leave anything on the table in terms of your opportunities at Blizzard Bash. And now going into the national bracket with the changes that have come to some of the teams, Brad, does that hold as much truth this year as it did last year? Do you have to test? Do you have to drive all summer to stay sharp? And how ready do you have to be going into Blizzard Bash?
Oh, I think it's important, to get some run time on. I'm less concerned. Last year we had a lot of new setups, new engines and stuff. That was more what we were trying to make sure we had the bugs worked out of. And,
sure.
This year, bringing back the same equipment, just freshened up and gone through, I don't have as much concern about, running it a bunch of times. I honestly haven't run my setup this summer. I went out and ran a setup of Derek's out in Utah, and then a couple of the other guys have run, but actually not their Blizzard Bash setups. So
it seems like the rate of technology continues just like it is in any other form of advancing technology. In Demolition Derby, the rate at which things change is pretty rapid. Has anything in terms of the rule book or the construction or the tricks that people are putting into their cars, has it advanced or changed anything in the last 365 days to where you guys are doing new or different things to your builds?
Oh, you're always trying to tweak things. Yeah, we definitely have some new gadgets and stuff for the cars, but for the most part, the rules didn't change much. They just kind of shed some light on some gray areas, I guess you could say, that they saw an issue with themselves. I don't feel like it really changed a lot for us for the build. The changes that we're making are just stuff that we want to try to make better, you know what I mean?
Is it possible to make those Cadillacs harder than what you had last year?
I imagine anything's possible. We're going to try, I put it that way.
Right. You've had a chance to look over the entry list this year for the national bracket?
Yeah, I saw it the day it come out. I just kind of glanced at it and then looked at it a little harder later on, but definitely a lot of changing up, it looks like. A lot of teams shifting around, and some teams with only one driver from last year and 3 completely new drivers and stuff like that. It should be interesting, I think.
After looking at that, nobody's ever going to say that, oh, we want to draw this team because it's weak, or we want to avoid this team because they're strong, et cetera, et cetera. But what are some of your impressions on the roster that's out there this year? I'm almost willing, and it seems like we say this every year, I'm almost willing to say that this year's roster is as strong as we've seen.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty stacked group of drivers there, I mean, honestly, myself, I think it's just more, there's a couple teams I wouldn't want to draw, but it's more because I know guys on the team, and I just hate to have to go through that first round or at all, really, if you can help it. But other than that, I mean, I don't look at it like, oh, I hope we draw them because they're weak. I don't really see that in that roster. You know what I mean? Right.
It's just not there. I mean, at this point, with the evolution of Blizzard Bash and what it is and what the team program has come to be, the draft of trying to get top drivers onto the quartet, and you've only got 16 teams with 4 drivers each. It's not like you've got a bunch of extra room to fill either. So the caliber of driver, there's not going to be a weak link. What it comes down to is such a big part of it is your draw and your first round luck.
Yeah, I mean, luck always plays a part for everybody. You can have all the money in the world in your drivetrain or your transmission, for instance, and it was just gone through and everything should be good, but it can still go bad. So
right. In terms of your 4, everybody staying together, returning a lot of the same driveline equipment and things along those lines. Your rules last year in the qualifying bracket were a little bit different than what you're building to now, correct? There was some changes from the qualifying bracket to the national bracket?
No, actually, it's the same set of rules.
It's exactly the same.
Yep.
So, I mean, that being the case, your car choice has got to be pretty much automatic. What you were able to do with those Cadillacs last year was impressive. Do you think that is going to be does that play into any of the intimidation factor the other way, where some of the guys are thinking, hey, maybe we don't want to run into them initially, given how hard and fast you guys were able to drive as a team?
I guess I'm not sure. I can't speak for anybody else, but I mean, I'm not going into it thinking that I've got anybody intimidated, I can tell you that.
The effort that you guys put out there last year was one of the most dominating qualifying bracket performances that we've seen, and now we've got about half of the national bracket that has been seeded by that qualifying program that they've got, where they take 2 teams that win, replace the first 2 teams that are eliminated from the national bracket coming out of the qualifying side of things. Do you have any thoughts on how that worked? I mean, does it feel like you guys are carrying any momentum at all coming into this? Without having run all summer long necessarily with these setups, you guys are still a real main focus, just like the Cray-Z Iowans, of conversation going into that national bracket. There's a lot of attention on you.
Yeah, hopefully not too much attention. But we had a great run last year. Part of it was, the way things were drawn. Some of it was just other teams having bad luck. That's what I said. You can have the best setup in the world, but if you, in first round, that team we were against spit the drive shaft out first thing. That was pretty tough luck for them, but obviously helped us out. So, you just don't know. There's too many variables in it. We're going into it with a positive attitude. We want to build the best cars that we can build and go try to drive them the best we can. But that's all we can really do.
Have you had any conversations with anybody else that you're going to be seeing out there, namely the Iowans, who you guys ran pretty effectively with in the finals of that qualifying bracket?
No political stuff. I honestly try not to get too wrapped up in that stuff if I can help it. Sometimes you've almost got to if you don't want to be on the chopping block, but we try to avoid it if we can. We certainly haven't done anything, any of that kind of stuff at this point.
At times it almost seems like that's necessary. You look at what the national bracket feature was like last year. In the event you guys can make it that far, keeping that wild card nature could really spice things up for the main event, but there's multiple rounds of Derby to go through to get to that point. Obviously the win is a big deal, but so many teams that we talk to say that just making the feature is a win in and of itself. What are you guys thinking in terms of your goals for this year and heading out there?
Your focus is trying to stay, if you can at all help it, you want to try to stay on that winning side of the bracket, obviously. That's what everybody wants to do.
Sure.
It potentially is one less run, or, if you get through the first round without going to the losing side, then you get rid of that risk of being eliminated. And so, if we can do, I don't know, we're just going to do what we can do, try to get through it, try to win that first round. If we can make it to the feature, I'm sure we'd all be pretty stoked just to have made it that far. But
you're a pretty relaxed guy. I don't think I ever really see you get wound up or anything outside of being inside the Derby car. And even at that, it's a controlled chaos when you're driving hard and you're still able to pick your shots and keep yourself pretty well composed. First, on that note, how important is that out there in Blizzard Bash when you pull into the arena? You've got the lights on you. There's cars flying all over the place. It's a much more condensed area. The population density of solid drivers is much higher than what you're used to per se at a county fair. How important is being able to keep your cool on the stage of Blizzard Bash?
I think it's fairly important, to an extent. Obviously, the one thing that I feel good about my team because of is we have kind of some diversity. We have two guys that run kind of cool-headed and pick stuff and are a little more specific about what they're doing, and then
Sure.
We have two that are more hot-headed and they're out there just taking out the trash, doing whatever they got to do, making those big hits, and I think that having two of each on the team, I really feel like, strengthens our team. That's how I feel about it. I'm sure everybody has their own opinion, but
Sure. On that same token, as cool and calm as typically you tend to be, does any type of pressure come in to you? Does that change how you approach this now that you've made the national bracket?
That doesn't really change anything for me as opposed to last year. The biggest thing with this is, again, it's not a singles event.
Right.
It's a team environment, and I know my whole team feels the same way. Like you don't want to let your teammates down. You don't want to be
Sure.
the weak link on the team and be the reason that you don't advance or whatever. So there's that stress level a little bit, but we're all friends. All the guys are here right now in my shop. We're all building right now together. We get along great. I don't know. It just I see a lot of those teams, how they're spread all over the place, and just makes me wonder, I guess, how things would go if I was on a team like that. I kind of like the fact that we sit here and build together. We think tank together,
right.
Come up with ideas, and it seems to work really good for us. So.
Well, you did that before, right? You drove with Team Mile High, and you were out here in Pennsylvania, and the rest of the team came from Utah, right?
Yeah. When Sam was in Minnesota, and
Sam.
I guess he actually built his car out there, so I guess they basically all came from Utah. But and it was different. I mean, we definitely shared ideas. We were in contact with each other a lot and stuff, but it's not quite the same. I don't feel.
One of the last things that I had for you, again, kind of building on that mind game part of Blizzard Bash and Topeka. Has anything come up as a surprise or has caught you sort of I guess surprise is the best word for it, as you've gone out the number of times and you found some success out there? Has anything struck you or jumped off the page for you in terms of what Blizzard Bash is in reality compared to the mystique of it that show carries out here?
No. I mean, the cars are always a surprise. I mean, the builds that are out there are just insane, and that's one thing I would say to anybody, that if you haven't been to Blizzard Bash and witnessed it in person, like there's no comparison. Watching the video just does not do it.
No.
To be there, to walk around, see the cars, to be a driver there and drive through that dome, through that hallway into that arena, there's just, I don't know, there's nothing like it. It's amazing. I would say the only thing that, I hate to see, and what we already touched on it a little bit, was that political part.
Sure.
I don't like seeing that. I understand it. I've been involved with it,
right.
Because sometimes you're either, you're either the one on the cutting block or you're the one doing the cutting, and
right.
You just got to make that decision, unfortunately. But I hate to see that stuff. It's tough. I mean, if you go out there, there's not a driver out there, I'm sure, that hasn't been on the bad side of that. Whether it was at a show that was actually a singles event and you had 4 guys on you,
right.
Or what the case was. It's not a pleasant place to be. I hate seeing it. I hate being involved in it, but unfortunately, that's the way it has to go sometimes.
Is Blizzard Bash the place where you hit the hardest, where you feel like the hits given out that you've taken, that you've delivered, are the most intense?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Out here, the tracks are usually pretty soft and muddy, and you don't get the speed, you don't get the traction, out there on that hard-packed clay. It's just crazy, the traction and the momentum you can get going. And even though from video perspective it doesn't look like maybe the cars are hitting that hard, I would suggest to anyone, if you're at the show and you're sitting up in the top seats of the arena, walk down and watch a heat from the track once.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get to that, to that closer perspective of it, you have a whole new appreciation for it, that's for sure.
There's been times when we've been there, the cars make an impact, they make a shot, and they follow through on the shot to the point where the car they're hitting stops, but they're still in the throttle, so the back tires are still driving. And those hard skid steer tires will start to squeal on the track,
yep.
just like they're doing a burnout on asphalt, which is it doesn't matter how many times I've seen that, that's always impressive.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I say that track is so hard packed. Now that they've got their dirt situation handled, anyways, it is. That first year I was out there, it was definitely not the case, but yeah, it's a fast track for sure.
The team for Team America: Brad Tice, Matt Tice, Jamie Bolt, Brian Byrington, all coming back out again for this year, winning the qualifying bracket to earn their way into the national side of things. You guys had the chance to take a national seat, if I remember correctly, and opted to go to the qualifying bracket and earn your way in. Does that make this trip more rewarding?
Well, yes, absolutely it does to me. There wasn't necessarily an open door for us, but there was a potential for it.
Sure.
We talked about it as a team, and basically we didn't want to deal with the potential potential repercussions of that. You know what I mean? If all the other national teams are like, well, what the heck, they didn't earn their way in here, and then you've got to deal with that, and you're the odd man out. You know, I'm hoping by doing it the way that we did it, we've got kind of earned our respect a little bit, and maybe aren't quite such a target, or maybe the way we did it made us more of a target, I guess. I don't know. But
well, you guys certainly left a mark on the landscape of Blizzard Bash, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys run out there and see how you match up against that national draw. All Cadillacs again?
Yeah.
Yes, possibly, or is that yes, definitely?
Yeah, that's probably what you'll see, I'm sure. I honestly think you're going to see quite a lot more Cadillacs this year than you did last year, in my opinion. But
did you ever imagine that the throwaway cars that you used to use as trade bait would be the cars that you wish you had piles of?
No, I definitely did not. I wish I would have known, for sure.
Right.
But, it just depends on where you're running and what the rules are and what you can do to the cars. It usually decides which car you're going to run, and at least that's how I do it, and I just feel that's a pretty good pick, pretty good choice.
So are you guys basically NASCAR building these things, just an assembly line, one after another? You got the templates out, and you go through and do all the frames, and then do all the bodies, all the floors, and then you do the doors and stuff like that? Just get everything done on each car in sequence, or are you building one car, finishing it, next car, finish it, do it that way?
No, we're doing basically an assembly line.
Yeah.
We get two of them to a certain point, and then we'll pull them two out, pull the other two in, and catch them up, and then go beyond, and just keep rotating them in and out. And seems to work pretty good. So
it's got to be a sight. Is there anybody that you wanted to make mention of that's helping make sure the team gets out there?
Yeah, we've got some sponsors again this year that are helping out. Al's Leasing out of Canton's going to help us out with some trucking, and Rallier Towing's going to help us out with the trailer for the cars to come out on, and got GFY Supply, taking care of our engine stuff.
Nice.
Got some more in the works, but until they commit, I guess I'm not going to mention names.
Well, you've got 2 months to finalize it, and then you'll be able to mention them.
Right.
2 months. It's a ton of time, right?
It doesn't feel that way. There's a rule in my shop that no one's allowed to talk about the countdown and mention how many days are left or any of that. I don't want to hear it.
Well, I know you got more work to do tonight, and we won't give you a specific day. We're just looking at the calendar squares. I know you're busy, Brad. I appreciate you coming on the show and hanging out with us for a little while. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for having me.
You bet. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Good luck out there.
Thanks.
There goes Brad Tice. Brad Tice, again, making the start in the national bracket with Team America, winning their way in after last year. We talked a little bit about it. Here's more of the facts on it. Blizzard Bash 2018 at the Laine Arena at the Kansas Expo Center. November the 7th is the heat draws. That is always popular to see who ends up where. November the 8th, 4 o'clock start time on that one. That is the opening round of the national qualifying brackets. Then November the 9th, 5 o'clock is the draws for the compact and limited world teams, and then 6 o'clock start time for the national qualifying teams. That's their second round of action. November the 10th is the double header. The twin bill starts at 10 o'clock with the compact and limited weld team heats, and then at 6 o'clock is all the Team B features, the trucks, and the limited weld one and dones. And then Championship Sunday is the 11th, a 1 o'clock start, bone stocks, 80s mod, and all the Team A mains on deck there. Are you there? Trying to get Brent Clemens on the line as we read through that. While we're looking at it again, Blizzard Bash online, blizzardbash.com. Smash It Demolition Derbies. They've got 2 shows left. September the 22nd is the Ashland County Fair in Ashland, Ohio. Start time is 5 o'clock. Street stocks. 80s wire class compacts, trucks, youth, and power wheels all on deck for that one. October the 13th is the season finale for Smash It Demolition Derbies. That's the cleanup derby at the Fayette County Fairgrounds in Washington Courthouse, Ohio. Start time is 6 o'clock. Start time is 6 o'clock on that one at Washington Courthouse. Full-size cleanup derby, compact cleanup, mild weld, the street stocks, the mowers, and the power wheels. Online for more details, smashitderby.com. Let's see. Jump over here with some... Fantastic. There we go. This weekend is Stern Dirt Racing's next big show, the West Jordan Beatdown in West Jordan, Utah. $30,000 payout, 4-man team format, heavy iron and farm trucks, 2 Imperials allowed per team on that one. September the 14th is the day of reckoning at the Utah State Fair. We've got Laine Frerichs joining us here in just a few minutes. Laine, I'm going to put you in.
All right.
And we'll be right there with Laine momentarily. September the 14th is the day of reckoning at the Utah State Fair, Salt Lake City, Utah. $50,000 in total payout, $8,000 to win for the stock class. That's going to be at that Days of 47 arena right there near the airport. Fantastic facility. It's where they had the team derby earlier this year. It's the May Mania show, and I think they're going to be back there again for Havoc as well. First 24 cars to pass inspection get $1,000 back, $4,000 and $2,000 first and second place prizes for the Mad Dog Awards. Online for additional details, sterndirtracing.com. So that gets us through those. We're going to talk about spinning wheels, Brookfield Wheel Days, and Cass in the Valley here in just a little bit. In the meantime, however, we've got Laine Frerichs joining us here on the hotline to talk about Blizzard Bash 2018, running in the national bracket now after running in the qualifying side last year. Laine, how are you?
Good, you?
We're doing okay. Appreciate you coming on the show and hanging out with us for a little while. We ended up juggling some seats a little bit, so I wanted to jump you ahead to talk about the Cray-Z Iowans getting ready to run in that national bracket. What's this mean to you guys?
Obviously, everybody that's in that qualifying show, their main goal is to get into that national show. But, they all want to compete with the best and be the best, so, that's huge. That's the big goal for everybody down there running that.
It is. It is such a big deal just to make the feature. Do you guys have necessarily a goal or a game plan or expectations for yourselves going down there and being part of that?
Well, our goal really also is, like everybody else, not be the first team out. But, no, we're just going to go out there and we're not going to slow it down. We're going to drive like we always do, keep the speed up. We like to drive fast, so hopefully everybody else is okay with that because we're going to try to make them drive fast.
We talked a little bit with Brad Tice here a moment ago. He said he's trying to stay out of the politics side of it. It's one of the less appealing elements of Blizzard Bash simply because of that team element and the pecking order, and it can take away from some of the dramatics of the show itself. Have you guys been able to stay out of that thus far as well?
Oh, yeah, we stay far away from that. We don't have a whole lot of friends out there, and it's been pretty obvious throughout the years we've run there. We usually end up on the very low end of the team numbers. So, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen this year, so we're expecting that. So that's why we're just going to go out there and turn the pace up right away and make them run our speed.
How much does that change the game, forcing the issue like that? It seems like if you sit back, you're just waiting to get hit, and you're sort of a sitting duck. If you're more aggressive, you can set the tone, and the more aggressive people tend to find better success.
That's really what we're hoping for. We really like to drive fast. That's what we do all year. So if we can speed it up, and maybe catch a couple guys off guard. They've been doing for how many years, that one bad shot can catch anybody off guard, but if we can handle our cars like we're supposed to and drive them well and fast, anybody can win at that rate.
That's very true. And we've seen that play out a couple different ways. The wild card, of course, being in the feature, you get a couple teams out there that are sort of free agents, as it were, where they're not agreed to or aligned to run with anybody. They can really change the outcome of that main. You guys, I trust, are building Cadillacs again, or are you going to try and change it up a little?
Oh, no. We'll be in Cadillacs.
A couple of the gray areas were clarified. Does that open things up for you, or were you really not anywhere as close to that? What's that do with that clarification?
Well, it's going to make the better cars, but it wouldn't have changed my mind if I wouldn't have found them or if they wouldn't have been explained more. we're comfortable in Cadillacs, and that's what we were going to take, regardless if it benefited the whatever style of car we would show up in Cadillacs. That's what we like to run.
Right. That's sort of innate in the area that you're coming from. You know, Iowa's known for Cadillacs front to back. All the teams that come out of there have been Cadillac heavy at one point or another.
Yeah, we sure like them around here.
So, what's this mean to you guys? You know, we talked a little bit with Brad a minute ago about any added pressure that he might feel making it into the national bracket. Does it change your driving style at all? It sounds like you guys you guys have already won the battle. You're into the national draw, and whatever happens for here is just gravy on top of that.
Well, it's obviously huge. Like I said, that's everybody's game plan. But between comparing qualifying to national side, I mean, there's no difference. The car builds are the exact same, and
right.
The caliber of drivers throughout both of them is just incredible. So, I mean, it's just going to be crazy. Obviously, you get there, and the next thing you want to do, since you make it the national, you want to win. And
right.
You got to compete with the best. And a lot of them guys, I grew up watching when I was really little, and now I'm getting to run with them. So, I mean, it's cool. Do I think it adds any more pressure? Well, running in front of a sold-out show on a Saturday night's enough pressure as it is, regardless where you're running on or what side or what team you're running on. So, I mean, there's always the pressure that's going to be there when you roll into that arena.
Sure. The pressure side of it seems like it affects people different ways. Some people feel it, and some people don't, and some people lie about it. You know, it's one of those things where all those fans they're packed right in on top of all the cars, and the intensity that goes onto the track through all the rounds of qualifying, really, because nobody wants to be the weak link on the team. Nobody wants to be the reason why your team goes down a car or goes down two cars or doesn't make it through that round. So I got to believe that there's some degree of pressure that you guys are feeling in some way, shape, or form, just like any other team would be. By the same token, you guys are coming in. Does that feel like you're coming in with any momentum? After the showing that you guys put on out there in the qualifying side of things last year, it seems like on paper anyway that there's a lot of attention on you.
Boy, I hope not. We were really hoping to go fly under the radar. I don't think I'll have a better build over anybody else. I mean, I'd like to think we're all pretty comparable because top builders out there in the country. But, no, there's always going to be pressure on it. But it's no different. I mean, in the county fair show, I get nervous. So it's a little more pressure, but in the end result, you're there to put on a show and hopefully win some money. But if it was about the money, we all wouldn't be doing it. Right.
You said something there about building a car that is on par with everybody else out there. That's almost a given, isn't it? That all the cars out there are going to be equal. I mean, you've only got 64 drivers that are going to go out there and share the track through the course of that national bracket, and I don't think you can look at that list and say, oh, well, this guy's a slouch, this guy's a subpar builder. With the way that the teams have evolved and the way that drivers are now being handpicked and moving in between teams, it doesn't seem like there's anybody that's weak. If you had to rank all those drivers 1 through 64, you'd have a 64-way tie for first.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Like, this year is just incredible. Looking through, compacts, looking through limited world, qualifying, national, it is the most stacked year I have ever seen. And I've been coming to Blizzard Bash since 2012. This is hands down the most stacked, well-balanced set of drivers for every team I've ever seen. It's going to be crazy.
When did the Cray-Z Iowans start?
We started, we started in 2015. I had my Uncle Nick. He was born around Kevin Sargis, they had a team, and one other member, that would be Nick Wolf, who actually ended up being Sean Wolf's son, because Nick was injured for that time, and they needed a fourth. So I stepped up, joined that, and I was put on the task of coming up with a team name. So a buddy and I decided, well, we're all from Iowa, and we're kind of crazy, because you got to be crazy to do this sport. And that's just kind of where it all came up, and then it kind of blew up, and now we just kind of take that name with us everywhere.
Sure. Again, the team this year is going to be Laine Frerichs, Justin Frerichs, Kevin Sargis, and Jerry Lyerly. Jerry Lyerly coming back this year after running with the team last year. That guy was a huge pickup for you.
Oh, he was. he had probably the worst luck I could have seen out of anybody in them first 2 heats. But he picked the greatest time ever for that car to work, and it worked awesome.
Was it hard to talk him into coming back?
Oh no, when we got our trophies down there last year, we all said, all right, we're coming back, so just prepare for that.
Right. Where's the cars at this point in terms of the build process?
Right now we're a little early in them, but we're sitting okay. I blew up the motor over the summer, so I'm just getting that back. So getting ready to throw all my cradle back on it and get tranny put back on it. And Jerry bought a new house, I believe, so he's in the midst of moving stuff, so he's a little behind. But we'll do what you always got to do to get the cars done. It seems like whenever you show up there, there's always something most of you forget, so you're working on it down there regardless. So
right.
Never really happy where you're at, but you always got to be somewhere. So.
Sure, it doesn't really always help to start early because you end up it just gives you more time to fall behind, I suppose.
That it does.
Right.
Fall behind early.
Some of the other teams that are coming back this year, Team Kansas obviously coming back. They took the win last year. Chad Markley, Justin Montgomery, Tom and Kurt Gegg running together. Dylan Kunkel, Kyle Pudwitter, Eric Floyd, Tom Stern, making up Team Octane, Team WRP, Kenny Rosno, Daniel Ort, Matt Hoffmeister, Scott Svingen, all running together. Team IFD, who came away with top 3 finishes the last several years. Team IFD, Ryan Durham, Bobby Brockway, Bobby Whitaker, Brandon Johnson. Kansylvania, Brent Clemens added to that group. Todd CIoppas, Steve CIoppas, Jimmy Johnson running together. EPR is in the draw this year. Jake Benters, Brody Brown, David Earl, and Barry Clemens running as a group. JYD, Zach Staver, Eric Blom, Daryl Monroe, Dustin Ingram from Canada making his return. He's a former winner out there. Team Mile High, Derek Shelley, Sam Bando, Travis Vogt, and Randy Makowski. That's all the Utah guys running together. RBD, CJ Barnes, William Morgan, Tyler Brangers, and Denton Bishel all running together in Team RBD. The no-namers are back again. Jason Dials, Tommy Stark running with the no-namers. Eddie Chick joining them as well. Zach Riggs joining them from Arkansas. Team JWC, former qualifying bracket winners, Zach Johnson, Troy Johnson, Daryl Ewing, Chris Collins. Team Derby Tees, Bob Meyer, Lance Pritchett, Rhett Glue, and Nick Erlacher running with Team Derby Tees, Derby Nation TV, Ryan Songalewski, Jason Brodzinski, Don Santel, and Dave Meyer. Calisota Style, Chris Lancaster, Eric Moulet, Mitch Carlson, and Ryan Chivers. Team America, as we talked about, Brad Tice, Matt Tice, Jimmy Bolt, Brian Bryington, and then you guys, Cray-Z Iowans, Laine, Justin, Kevin, and Jerry. When you listen to that list, it gives me goosebumps just to think about the potential pairings and stuff that's out there. As a Derby fan, from your perspective, do you get a chance to get back out and watch those other 2 rounds of qualifying leading up to some of that group qualifying efforts that set the A main, just to see what it's like from purely a fan standpoint?
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the best parts. You get to see everyone else's stuff get wrecked or see them wreck other stuff. I mean, that's by far the best part, and that really helps calm the nerves. You get out there, you get a feet on that first, you see what the track ends up like, how everyone's driving, how their stuff's working, and you kind of get to see what the competition's looking like. They got teams that have a good heat because another team had bad luck, or all the teams look pretty rough. It usually gives you a good idea of what you're going to go through in your heat.
Right. That track is so cool when it gets late in the weekend and it starts to dry out a little bit. You can actually watch it just like a dirt track, out there where you are. Terre Haute's in Indiana, but that's a big dirt track. Boonville, Iowa, home of the IMCA Nationals. The tracks, as they dry out some, they tend to take rubber. That track will actually do the same thing. It'll take rubber and get grippier as the weekend goes on.
Oh yeah, we like to drive fast, and I mean, it's just fun. That's one of my favorite tracks to go to because you don't have to really play with the elements. You just got to know. All right, well, you'll feel the first team that's out there. You'll see if they're sinking in there. Well, maybe you're going to take tires a little bit, but we definitely like to drive fast. So that's one of our favorite parts about coming here. You're almost guaranteed you're going to be able to drive fast.
What have you guys done this summer? You said that you hurt your motor.
I ran a couple shows and was really lucky, and Justin took the year off. He's got some young kids, so he did lots of things with them, just all that kind of stuff. Kevin was out. He did some running. He ran some Domination Motorsports. He did pretty all right there. And yeah, seeing him out on Facebook, he was out hooping around with all his brothers and his friends. So We did some good running over the summer, but seems like your stuff's always going to fail, and it's going to fail in Blizzard Bash if it does, but
that's why you bring extras, I suppose, right?
Yep.
Do you guys have any sponsors or anybody that helps make sure that the team gets out there for Blizzard Bash?
Oh, I suppose I got a guy called Kevin Ferguson with the KS Customs. I mean, he's always going to try to haul it down. Jerry's got his businesses. We got Frerichs Motorsports, Otherwise, it's my grandpa, my dad, and Justin, Kevin, and I, and a couple buddies. That's really all we got. We don't have a lot of big hands to help us, but we get it done.
Compared to the teams that are spread out all over the country, how easy is it to share information when you guys are all packed in right close together like this?
Well, it's my favorite atmosphere there. It seems like no one's afraid to talk because you're all there trying to compete and learn, and that's my favorite thing to do is go down there and learn from those guys that have 20-plus years of driving compared to my 4. It's awesome to hear about stuff they've done in the past or whatever, or things they've learned. I don't like being given all this stuff, but I do like to say, well, if I get told, hey, we'll try this, well, I'm going to try it, see how it goes. I love the atmosphere there for teaching and learning. It's awesome. Even just the story sharing after the derby's over or whatever, when you're at the hotel just staring out, it's incredible.
Yeah, Blizzard Bash is a good place to shut up and listen. You can learn a lot if you just hang around in the right places.
Boy, that is no joke.
Well, Laine, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's always good to hear from you. I know you got building to do tonight, and you're probably just about this point close to starting to light the candle at both ends so that you can get all 4 cars done. Again, appreciate you taking some time out to hang out with us, and I wish you the best down there. Hopefully that turns into a little bit of momentum and you make it to that A main.
You bet. Thanks for having me. It's always fun.
For sure, Laine. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep, I'm good.
Thanks for coming on. There goes Laine Frerichs, Cray-Z Iowans, entering into their first national bracket. We got a couple things to hit on quick before we get to Brent Clemens, who did actually pick up the phone. I just couldn't hear him, so hopefully we'll be able to connect this time through. Spinning Wheels Productions, they ended their season with the end of their fair season, I should say, with that GDS fair in Newfoundland, Pennsylvania, the economy V8 class and the compact class, paying some good money. But to all the attention now turns that San Filippo Smash. More than 200 entries last year. And all you have to do is bring the car, and officials are going to find you someplace to run. Anything left at the end is going to run in that San Filippo Cup. It's a fundraiser for NPS 3A Research. The goal this year was $50,000. Online, you can find out more information at spinningwheelsproductions.com. They've got the Extreme class, which was way popular last year. And then this year they're bringing back that old iron class from 1959 and older. And there's a bunch of hot rod guys that are upset about some of the cars that are going to go get wrecked in that one. But here's the thing. If you want it that bad, you should have paid the money to save it. But there's some awesome old iron that's coming. Watch for some of that old Ford stuff to really dominate things. I think the T-Birds and some of the old Mercurys are going to be the cars to watch in that. But I know there's some Bel Airs and Super 8s and stuff like that that are also going to be making the trip. So either way you cut it, that old iron heat is going to be awesome. Gold iron, I guess is a better way to say it, 1959 and older. San Filippo Smash, spinningwheelsproductions.com. Brookfield Wheel Days, we talked about it a few minutes ago, about how they've injected some extra money, close to $1,000 poured back into that purse. $1,750 to win now for the big cars. $500, $150 back through third, $1,250 to win for the smaller cars. That's small 6-cylinders and 4-cylinders running together, $1,250, $200, $100, and that's based on 35 cars per division, which I think is a no-brainer. They're going to be able to fill that in their sleep. This event has heat for the Imperials only, which is always fun to watch. The Madison County Fairgrounds is the place of Brookfield Wheel Days. Online, MadisonCountyFairNY.com. We're on Facebook, King Smash 'em Crash 'em, Facebook.com/King Smash 'em Crash 'em. Full size and the large 6-cylinders all run together. Imperials only heat the full-size trucks. They've got some extra money in there, too. That's $250 to win, plus 100% of the payout. And if they get 5 or more, there's a $100 bonus thrown out there as well. It's easy to say 150 entries right now. I know a couple years we were there, it was up over 170, which was awesome to watch. Vans and SUVs, there's a run as well, and then they have a rollover contest at the end of the night. It's a fantastic show front to back. King Smash 'em Crash 'em in charge of that one. Rounding out our info spots this evening, Chaos in the Valley. Their shirts are done. I got to go pick those up in Rochester. The fall date for Chaos in the Valley, the 9th edition of Chaos in the Valley, is October the 20th, Shenandoah County Fairgrounds in Woodstock, Virginia. Showtime is 5 o'clock on that magic Saturday. It's the 9th edition of Chaos in the Valley. They number their events like UFC fights. This is the 5th year, celebrating 5 years down there for Cass in the Valley. It all goes to benefit Townsboro Volunteer Fire Department. Jason and Penny Shipe with JPG Towing oversee that one. There's the compact division is the main draw. The stock V8s will probably have 2 heats and then a feature. The modified V8s, which are like Blizzard Bash and Bash for Cash kicker classes on steroids. Modifieds usually do 1 heat, and then the SUV class will have a one and done as well. But you don't want to miss it. The mod class last year, you're going to see cars with flat stack leafs on the front and straight axles in the nose. Mark Wolf, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago, ended up winning with that 22 or 24-inch tilt Crown Vic that he had the straight front axle under when he went out and ran that. So hopefully he brings that back. It's going to be a fun one to see down there at Chaos in the Valley. We are going to try and get Brent Clemens on now as he gets ready to join Team Kansylvania. And it's ringing. That's a good start. There's Brent. We're going to go ahead and put Brent in right now. We can chat with him. Brent, of our 3 guests tonight, is one of the guys that's returning to the national bracket after taking a little bit of time off. Those other guys had to get into the national bracket by way of the qualifying side. You've had a seat basically waiting for you whenever you needed it as a defending champion there with Underdogs and running a couple other feature performances. You've had some good runs out there at Capital City Carnage. Took a year off. Now you're back. I'm sure everything's rebuilt, new, and ready to go.
Oh, working on it. Yeah, everything always needs work for demolition. You know how that goes.
It's never fails.
Yeah, it's been a great opportunity and glad to be coming back. So, looking forward to it.
Did you miss it at all in your time away?
I did. Yeah, definitely. I think it's been 2 years since I ran there. I definitely, going down there helping friends out and working on cars, and when you're watching it, that's definitely pretty tough. So glad to be back and get back in the action. So
how did this come together? Todd CIoppas and Steve CIoppas working with Jimmy Johnson this year, and now bringing you into the Kansylvania fold.
We're just friends and help each other out, and
sure.
A lot of talking last year, and just they were looking for somebody, and it was a pleasure. I said, yeah, it's a pleasure. That I would be glad to run with you guys, and it just worked out, and just glad to be coming back. I was looking for, I gave my spot away 2 years ago. We had our 3rd kid a month before the Derby, and just glad to be coming back.
Is how many teams have approached you to try and get you to come out of your break early to try and get you to come back and run with them? I mean, you've got, I don't know if it's a lucky horseshoe or rabbit's foot or just raw skill, because luck and playing is so much of it out there. You're a factor in the outcome of pretty much everything that we've seen out there from, 2014 forward anyway.
Yeah, there was a couple teams that had talked to me, but I had already committed, so I'm just glad to be on a team and with who I am, and just glad to be coming back. So you're telling me that nobody called Brent Clemens before Kansylvania already gobbled you up? Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Okay. All right. Look, you've never lied to me before. I'll believe you for what you say, but man, with a resume like yours, I guess it's pretty cool that Demolition Derby as a whole was willing to respect your wishes to stay away from the team atmosphere out there in Topeka. Because I'll tell you right now, if I had a team of 3 guys that were looking for a 4th person, I knew for sure that you were not on a team, I would have been calling you to set something up for whenever we were ready to get the cars done.
Right.
Are you sticking with what you know? Going to go with the Fords again?
More than likely, yes. Yeah, I've already started on a frame. I've been working. I actually been a busy summer with work and kids, and I didn't run as many derbies this year as I usually do.
Right.
I think I ran 4 times. I got 1 derby I'm going to run this weekend. Actually, my Blizzard Bash car has already been started on a few weeks ago. So, it's been in the works.
That being said, not running as many derbies as you want to, still you're able to get out there. You had a little bit of success this year too.
I had some tough luck at Capital City Carnage with that fuel cell. Spring X. I ended up getting second at Metal Mayhem to Bob Whitaker, and I was completely happy with that. With that feature,
hard to not be. Second at Metal Mayhem's a pretty nice thing on the resume too.
So
that how'd the local?
I actually ran a truck this year for the first time.
Oh, really?
A buddy of mine runs trucks, and he builds in my shop, and he says, here, my buddy Dustin says, take my truck and run it. I'm working out of town, and so I took it and run it at a local show and won with that, and that was something different. So, it was interesting. I never ran trucks before. I've always ran cars my whole life, so full-size cars. So it was fun.
Something you're going to do again?
I haven't ran as many, weld cars or mod cars, whatever you want to call them, this summer.
Sure.
I just haven't had as much time and gearing up for Blizzard, I guess. So
right.
Looking forward to it.
That's understandable, though. I mean, the truck thing, are you going to do that again someday? Or was once enough?
If I'm offered the opportunity, I'm not into building trucks. It's different. It was fun. It's different, but when you get into you got all the parts for your cars, and you're used to building cars and Crown Vics and new styles. You just kind of stay in the routine, and that's what you love. So.
I was trying to go through my notes and find the newest car that was ever wrecked in Topeka, and I think it's your car. You had a 2011 there at one point, so the car was basically 2 years old. Was that your car?
No, I did not.
No, okay, maybe I had that wrong then. But I seem to remember coming across the 2010 and the 2011, and I thought that was yours. But in any case, we've seen some when we talk about new stuff, it's real new. It's only a couple years old, and getting wrecked at the biggest indoor demolition derby in the country. I got to be honest, I was really excited to see that you were coming back to run there. The nice thing is that having been around it, even though that you weren't running it or building it, having been around it, helping guys with the cars, it doesn't seem like the technology or the advances or the tricks of the trade have gotten away from you. Do you feel you should still feel, I would assume, pretty confident in your ability to build a car that can compete at Blizzard Bash?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not like I walked away from Derby and
right.
Get out of the technology in the building. So I mean, I go to a lot of derbies a year, and even just watching and talking to people, and when you run a lot of national events, you got friends all over and talk to people, and it's still out there. So I mean, I'm just looking forward to coming back and building a car, and that's why I started early, and it take a while.
How's the information sharing work with half the team on the East Coast and the other guy in Middle America while you're up there in your home state? We just talk, and there hasn't been a lot of information shared yet. We're just getting into it. So sure.
We've talked about the rules and different things. So we just it's going to get hot and heavy here pretty soon.
Yes,
so,
it is.
These cars take a while to build. I do it on nights and weekends, and run my construction business during the week, and there's a lot of time involved and a lot of planning. So that's where we're at. So
Nothing against either of you, but I never thought I'd see the day where Brent Clemens was on the same team as Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, we become friends, and we're all in the sport to do the same thing. We love it and love doing it. So, I got to know the Kansas guys pretty well the last 2 years, and we trust one another, and we're good friends. So, I'm looking forward to it.
That's cool. Is there
your
brothers?
We're all out there for the same thing. Everybody out there loves derbying and building cars, and it's just people change teams or goes, run a few other derbies with people during the year or something, and people, I don't know, change teams, and that's just the way it goes. So
it has seemed like at different intervals that Team Kansylvania or CIoppas or Team Pittsburgh, whatever team name they go by, it always seemed like they were just one small piece away from really breaking through and finding some good success. There's always just one little tweak that they're missing. Has the team set out any goals as a group now with you added to it? Is the goal to win the A main? Is the goal to win to qualify for the A main? Is it one of those things where, I mean, you've always told me every time we talked, it's one round at a time, nice and conservative, nice and composed, patient, and don't get ahead of yourself.
Right. We haven't thought as a team as goals. Every time I go to a derby, my goal is to go there to win.
Right.
But you take, like you said, take one step at a time, and you never go there planning on winning, but you go there. I go there with planning on doing my best, and I'm going to give it 150%. So I'm not going to go down without a fight, and I think the whole team, everybody's got that that thinking mentality, and I think we're going to be, all good. So
I think you're going to be a force to reckon with. You winning it back in 2014, and Jimmy coming around to win it with Team Kansas. If memory serves correct, it was 2015 when those guys won, and then they missed a year. Or it might have been. I'm trying to remember now. I think they won in 2015, and then the Team Kansas won again here last year. So I mean, they've had some good runs. That showdown that Team Kansas had when Jimmy and Chad Markley were in that showdown with Team IFD, it was a fun one to watch. So there's plenty of experience on Team Kansylvania this year. Hopefully all the cards fall the right way for you.
Yep. And, there's a lot of luck out there. So, I mean, anything can happen. You're just hoping to win first round and not go to the losing side. We did that, I think, in 2013 and come back all the way to third in the A main. It's tough. It's possible to come back. It's just you're not going to give up. I mean, you go out there for one reason and just keep fighting. So
right on. That is for sure. Is there anybody that you wanted to make mention of?
I'd like to thank my brother. We build cars together and derby together. My wife for supporting me, putting up with my late nights in the shop and help take care of the kids, and everybody that helps me on cars, and my mom and dad, and so I wouldn't be able to do it without them. So.
Your brother's running out there this year, right? He's building a car too?
Yes.
He's running with EPR.
Yes.
So what happens when you guys draw each other first round?
we derby it out and just see what happens. So,
It'll certainly.
You can always draw one another. That's the thing. It's always, you never know who you're going to draw first round. So
it'll certainly make Thanksgiving interesting, won't it? Well, Brent, man, I appreciate it.
Whatever happens. It's not going to change. The way we work together and think about and feel about derby, and so.
Awesome. Well, Brent, man, I appreciate you coming on the show and hanging out with us. How's the baby, by the way?
Good. Yep.
Good.
Kids are doing good. Little one's doing good. It's busy.
Yeah, it's
I love derbying, so they're coming. The two oldest ones are coming out with us.
Awesome.
to the Derby. I'll probably run Power Wheels, hopefully. I'll have to see if I got time to get their Power Wheels ready. I've been kind of slacking on their Power Wheels versus my cars, but I got to get on that.
You got time. You got a little bit of time. You'll be all right.
Yep.
Brent, man, I appreciate you coming on the show and hang out with us for a little while. Congratulations on the new team, and we sure wish you the best out there in Topeka in November.
Alrighty. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
For sure, man. Thanks a lot.
You bet.
There goes Brent Clemens wrapping up this edition of Crash Course. Good conversation throughout the course of our evening together here, special Thursday edition. We're going to be back on Monday. Happy back to school to all the kids tuning in. Happy back to school to all the parents that were fed up with summer. We appreciate everybody coming. We've got kickoff for the NFL coming up momentarily. We're going to get out of here. That's going to do it for us here at the North Park Building at Academy Square. We'll see everybody on Monday for another edition of the Crash Course. See you then.
Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.